Michelle Dutrissa, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stamping Up here in New South Wales, Australia. Yesterday I did a live and I did a title on a scrapbook page. And I had a product that I had purchased many, many years ago when I was with Creative Memories, which is really handy when it comes to lining up your title and getting it straight before you adhere it to your page, so you don't have as much of guesswork trying to work it all out. Now, I didn't get much sleep last night because I thought there has to be a way that we can create something like that for ourselves without having to spend a huge amount of money. Now, I know in the past I've seen other people do the same concept using rulers. I've used rulers, but this is something I came up with last night and I think would work really, really well. And you only need a few things to be able to do it. So let me just turn my camera down onto my desk, and I'm just in the middle of die cutting some letters. So we've got something to work with. So bear with me, and I will change this camera view down. Now jump on, say hello. This is only going to be a very short and quick little video today, but I hope that this is going to be helpful. I'm sorry, my cut and emboss machine is slipping because I've got a non-stick mat underneath it. Probably should have removed that, and so it's sort of slipping a little bit all over my table. Okay, so there we are. We're creating a title, and I've chosen the letters for the word tree. So I've got them here. I've got my piece of cardstock. I've cut it the same as, well, it's a leftover piece from yesterday, but it's about 5 centimetres wide, which is, if I grab my sheet of, okay, this is 2/3 what's left over of one sheet of adhesive sheet. And what it is 2 pieces of glossy paper with an adhesive in the middle, okay? It's sandwiched in between the two of them. And you've got splits. There's 2 splits. There's one just here, and there's one on the other side. So if we grab a piece of cardstock, I've just got a piece of white here, which is an A4 piece, which I know is going to be not, because this piece here is a little bit longer. I'm just going to trim that little bit off so I don't have it sticking everywhere. And what I'm going to do is, this is what you would do before you get to this step, okay? So you can peel that off, and you'll have this sheet here which has got no sticky on it, and this piece has got the sticky there. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stick this onto here, and then I'm going to peel off my second side here. Okay. Now you could just cut that in half and just use half on a sheet, but I just thought, well, I'm probably going to need white at some stage or other, and I'll use it there. So now we've sandwiched that piece of adhesive sheet to our basic white cardstock. From there, you can pop your letters on it or whatever you're die cutting if you want to have something that's glued or adhered to your card front, to your scrapbooking page. I've done it on a bit of a scrap here, but there's my adhesive sheet there. So when I peel this off, and I take my letters off, I have got, grab my take a pick tool. I have now got basically stickers, but in the shapes of my letters. And of course you can do this in any of your fine die cut images, as long as it's something you want stuck down, adhered to your card front or to your scrapbooking page. So you could do this with your floral dies, whatever, any of those fine dies. So I just want to show you this piece here, but I also have a reason that I wanted the backings off that other sheet. Okay, so there we are. We've made our title. So now we want to adhere our title onto our card front or our scrapbook page. So I'm now just going to turn this around, and I'm going to pretend Actually, I'm going to grab another piece of paper. So here we are. I've got a piece of paper and I want my title adhered to this. Now, with this piece that I've got from Creative Memories, what it came with is this piece here. It has all your ruler markings, but the most important part, and I'll just pop it on here so you can see, it has a very fine black line down the bottom there. Now, the reason for that is you would lay, and this piece of sheet, this piece of paper came with it, and this has got like a non-stick surface to it, which is very much the same as this paper that I just taken off the back of the double-sided adhesive sheet. Now, what I would suggest you do, even before you pull it off, on this side here, write, not this side, or put a cross on it, because that's the side that is adhesive. That's the side that isn't adhesive. You can feel a difference. That's slightly more matte. This is very shiny, and you can see that there's got a surface on there. Don't know whether you can see that shine. So that is very much similar to what I've got here, except this is a lot wider, okay? So you want to keep that piece, okay? So what we do with this is we adhere, we take the backing off our letters, and then you adhere that just on that line. And I like to actually put it just a little bit below that line. Okay, can you see that? So it's just on that line. You just really want it just touching that plastic sheet. Now, yesterday in my live, I said you could use other things to do this with. I mean, you could use a ruler, but a ruler is quite thick. You could use a piece of window sheet, but you have to be very careful because these stickers will stick to window sheet, okay? So you've got to, you want something that is just going to just hook onto the bottom of. But you also want to have some sort of markings on it. Now, I said you could probably put a line on it. But when I really thought about it yesterday, later in the day, if you put a line, if you use a Sharpie pen and put a line on it, you don't want to get that the wrong way around and get Sharpie pen accidentally, if it hasn't dried properly, onto your card front or onto your scrapbooking page, because then you've just wasted all that work that you've done. So I thought you need something that's permanently got some sort of line, some sort of grid on it. So this is my idea, and this is what I came up with, but you want something that's going to be thin. You don't want something that's going to be too thick. So what I did a little while ago, I grabbed myself a piece of grid paper. I cut it down to an A4, and I've laminated it. If you don't have a laminator, you could probably use clear contact that you would use to cover books with. So I've just laminated this, and I've cut this down to A4, and then I've cut this a section off, because you can get probably 3 of these. But what I've done, can you see? I've done my first line. I've cut it in between those squares. That's your ½ centimetre, and I've cut it about 2.5 in. So that gives me my little line. So I can actually now line up these letters on here. But I need a sticky sheet. I need a sheet on the bottom that my adhesive letters can't get onto. I've got enough here to cut another 2 here, okay? So what we're going to do, I'm going to remove that off there and take those to one side, because we don't need that anymore. I've made my own. So I've got my sheet here. I've got a non-stick sheet. Now this is a little bit like a Teflon type sheet. I've got some spare ones, and I've just looked at the packaging on them, and they just say non-stick. Doesn't tell me what they're made out of. But you can use something like that. You can use a silicone mat. Now I wouldn't put my letters onto the silicone mat. What I would do is I'd pop that down, pop this on top, line up my letters. I've still got my grid and everything there. This letter is not going to stick to my silicone mat. It's not going to stick to this mat here because it's a non-stick mat. This line is just allowing me to line up my letters. So let's grab the rest of my letters here. Now, if you don't have that and you don't have a silicone mat, this is where this little piece comes in handy. It's non-stick. Remember, this had the glue sandwiched in between. So if you keep these and just pop that onto there, you have got a non-stick surface to put this onto. That R is not going to stick on there. It's just going to come straight off it. So let's finish making our word. So I've got T, and I'm using that little line to line it up. And I'm even using the grid to tell me or give me an idea of how I want to space my letters, because I've got those little 1/2 centimetre squares. And of course, if you want to, you can use the inches on the other side. Just remember to make them maybe a little bit smaller. But you can use that to line it all up. Hello, Joan. How are you? Thank you for joining me. I hope you find this a little bit helpful. Just having a bit of trouble getting my last adhesive bit off the back of my last letter. So I can line all those up. As I said, that's not going to stick. It's just going to come straight off. So keep these strips. If you can keep a full length, then put them aside and keep them. But as I said, you can use a silicone mat. If you haven't got a silicone mat, you can use a non-stick backing here. The reason why we wrote not this side on this one is I don't want to stick that to there because it could stick. That side is not non-stick. That side is. Once I've lined them all up, I can then work out where I want this to go. You've even got your grid paper here, which is, I've done this on an A4 size because that's the size of my laminating pouches. And I can even line that up with those because I know they're all straight there. I can line that up with that there. Push that down. Make sure they're adhered down. And then very gently, putting my hand on here, I'm just going to lift these up. You might need to use your spatula or your take a pick tool just to gently lift them up. And that's why you don't want to stick them down any further than that, because you don't want them. You just want to be able to ease them out from underneath. So we're just going to lift that one up. Gently lift that one up because it will still stick to this. That's why we're only catching the top half. Just going to gently lift that one up. That piece there. Once I've pulled all that down, then I can go ahead and press all of those down. And there we are. We've made a title for either our card or for our scrapbooking page. So there's an easy way to make yourself, not quite sure what to call it, a ruler, piece of grid paper to line up your lettering if you're wanting to put your letters or words onto your scrapbook page or even a card front. So I hope that has helped. I hope that's encouraged you to find some way to use some of these, but I'm not going to throw these away. I'm going to keep these just in case I need more. I'm going to write on that, but not this side on that one. I'm going to put a big cross on that one so I know not to stick on that one. But I have got my grid to put my letters on. I have got some non-stick paper. I have got my silicone mat if I need it. I've got a non-stick mat here, but that's all I need now to help create nice straight titles. So thank you very much for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that has helped you and has inspired you to have a look, see what you've got, and see how you can reuse some things that we have around the place without spending too much more money. Thanks very much for that.